One.
Hello. All right, welcome. Last video, hopefully. I'm going to talk about the study of life and what is life, because that's all of biology, studying life. So, textbook gives us 8 characteristics of life. We went through these in classes, so just help reiterate them, give you a little more details. So, everything's made of cells, reproduces, has genetic code, grows and develops, uses materials, responds to the environment, has an internal balance called homeostasis, and evolves, which is changing over time. So let's talk about each one of those. Remember, we talked about fire in class. Missing a couple. Made of cells, doesn't have that, doesn't have a genetic code. Okay. It doesn't have an internal balance, but it's got most of the other ones. Okay. So cells. Everything we know of that's alive so far has cells. Okay. The cell is the smallest living thing that's considered alive. It carries out all of the functions of life, all of those 8 characteristics. So we could have unicellular organisms, one-celled things, or multicellular organisms. And humans have over 85 different types of cells. So while you're made up of cells, you're made up of a whole bunch of different types of cells. Next, we have reproduction. Every species needs to reproduce, otherwise that species stops existing. Okay? There's 2 forms of reproduction. Sexual reproduction involves 2 parents, and asexual, remember the prefix a means without, so without sexual reproduction, 1 parent. Bacteria go through asexual reproduction. Some single-celled organisms go through asexual reproduction. But most organisms you probably think about go through sexual reproduction in one way, shape, or form. Everything we know about also has a genetic code. Okay? Every living thing we found has DNA, and that DNA carries the code for them to live, and therefore those offspring of that individual will resemble the parents because they get their DNA from the parents. Okay? Without the genetic code, your cells would have no idea what to make, and therefore they would not know how to make you. So every living thing we found has DNA. It's amazing that every living thing is based on the same exact molecule. Kind of cool. Next, every living thing grows and develops. Right? Everything has some sort of life cycle. Right? Patterns of growth and change. They start out as usually a one-celled organism, and they grow larger by adding more and more cells. Right? Some things start out as eggs. Some start out as larvae. Some start out as embryos. But they all grow. They all get more cells. They all differentiate. Yes, except for one single-celled organisms, unicellular organisms, but they get bigger. Right? So they still have growth and development and change, just not as drastically as multicellular organisms. Right? Next, everything uses materials and energy. You need energy to live, to do anything. To watch this video, you are using energy. Okay? You also need materials to grow and fix yourself. You need to eat that steak so you get the protein to build your muscles. Okay? Metabolism is what we call the combination of all the reactions in your body that break down and build up materials. Okay? So every living thing has to have some sort of metabolism, whether that's a single cellular protist taking in energy, breaking down the glucose to get energy, or breaking down a protein to get the amino acids to build up more protein, or that's you taking in food, getting the nutrients out of it and using those. Okay? Some things can do both. Plants can do both photosynthesis and eating cellular respiration. Okay? You might not think of it, but once plants make the sugar through photosynthesis, they then have to eat the sugar through cellular respiration. So they do both of them. You are just on the eating end. You let other things do the photosynthesizing things to make the energy. Next, everything needs to be able to respond. We don't have any organisms that just sit there and don't do anything. Plants are usually where some people have a sticking point for this, but plants even respond. Okay? Roots respond to gravity to grow down. Leaves and shoots respond to light, grow towards the light. And the seeds even respond to temperature and water, so they know when to germinate. There's some seeds that even respond to fire. They wait until there's been a fire that goes through and they get a heat shock, and then they germinate. Really cool. So even plants respond to the environment. Next, you've got to maintain an internal balance. We call this homeostasis. Homeo means same or similar, maybe one, and that means to keep that internal condition the same. Most often we think about body temperature. You want to be 98.6. If you're hot, you sweat. If you're cold, you shiver. You want to keep it around there. If you get too hot, you get heat stroke, you get a fever. Get too low, you get hypothermia. Bad. This jackrabbit here has large ears. Yeah, they help it hear, but they also work to cool it down. Okay? Blood is circulating through those ears, and those ears are very thin, so it can dissipate the heat from the body out and cool down the body. We also have to keep those similar nutrient concentrations. Okay, I want the right amount of blood sugar. I want the right amount of amino acids everywhere. So I got to keep those nutrients the same. And I need to keep the right energy balance. And I need to have the right amount of energy to do what I need, but not too much that I have to store it. Okay? All right, last one. Every living thing evolves. Okay? Population change over time. I guess here's a little sticking point. Every species evolves. So every living thing that's part of a species, that species will evolve. Individuals do not. Notice how it says populations change over time. An individual does not change. Okay? But this helps the species survive in various environments or when the environment changes. Okay? So all populations eventually evolve. And then we have the branches of biology, because biology is very diverse. Notice from this picture, these are all multicellular organisms, so we don't even get into the unicellular, but there's so many different types. Okay? A couple of different ones. Zoologists study animals. Okay? So that would be kind of everything on here. Sadly, I picked all animals. Ichthyologist is a specialization of zoologists that studies just fish. A botanist studies plants. An ethologist studies behavior, and paleontologists study past life. So there's different branches even within biology that study the different parts. Okay, because biology is such a huge topic. Lastly, we'll talk about the levels of organization. Yep. Levels of organization are another way to study. Even if you're, say, a botanist and you study plants, or a ichthyologist and you study fish, you might only study them at one of these levels. Okay? It starts with organisms, a single organism, one guy walking around, or one fish swimming around. And then you go to populations, a group of the same species, so the population of Carni, all of the humans living in Carni. Then you go to communities. Communities are all of the different species in an area. So not just all the people in Carni, but all of the people, the grass, the trees, the squirrels, the chipmunks, the rabbits, the deer, everything living in Carni. Then we have ecosystems. Hello? Yep, then we have ecosystems, and ecosystems are the everything living and non-living in the environment. So you add in the water, the rocks, the weather. And then you have the biome. Okay? A biome is a large tract of similar land, like all of the grasslands in North America or Africa, all of the forests on the East Coast. And then the biosphere is the whole world. So life can be studied at each of these levels, and each of these levels apply to other levels. All right, lastly, why is biology even important? It's all around you. You are alive, so we can apply everything we learn to you. Also, if you have pets, the lessons apply to those pets, how we can keep them alive. Okay? Nutrition is important. We learn that through biology. Medicine is a branch of biology, very important. And saving the environment, knowing what we should do to help the environment, recycling, having more fuel efficient cars, those kind of things all come from studying biology. Okay? So it helps us better understand important decisions through our daily lives. All right. Thank you very much.